Welcome, everyone, to the Sunday service for Unity of Charlotte. I am Lawrence Tolliver, and I serve on our Board of Trustees, and it is my honor to be able to stand before you both in Zoom and on YouTube, and of course, with all of these beautiful people in person here at our worship site. Just as happy as I can be on this beautiful Sunday morning. And we are gathered, and we always remember that we are here as spiritual beings to love, grow, and serve. And I'm going to ask that you will all join me in our prayer of oneness. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good, omnipotent. Please join me in a word of prayer. Father, Mother, God, we are all open, receptive, and responsive to you in our own unique ways. What we know is that divine right order is the way in which you present yourself throughout creation. Everything, including us human beings, us spiritual beings, everything, right order. And when we awaken to news reports, worry or concern about the status of humanity and Mother Earth, we are often disturbed. When we go into meditation and prayer about these feelings, we remember that divine right order is the way you show up everywhere, in everything, all of the time. We thank you, first of all, that we are open and receptive. We thank you, secondly, that we are responsive to your perfect presence. This makes us glad. This assures us that no matter what the appearance might be, divine right order prevails. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this wisdom. Thank you that it penetrates any uncertainty and doubt we might feel. It penetrates because we are open, we are receptive. This we know. We release these truths to you, knowing they continue to manifest everywhere, in everything, in every person, all of the time. And so it is. All right, now let us do a few things in regards to announcements for activities, upcoming events. We do have an important event this coming Saturday, April the 2nd. It is important because it relates to one of the strongest members we've ever experienced in Unity of Charlotte. We will be having a memorial service at 2 p.m. in this sanctuary for Helen Swanson, who served in a counseling, teaching function and prayer throughout her many years of service here at Unity of Charlotte. So please check your website or the email you may have received from us so that you can have the link to the service, unless, of course, you show up, which we hope you can. We also have every Tuesday evening affirmative prayer, and that affirmative prayer is focused primarily on the way in which divine right order shows up for earth. That is the focus. So if you have any concerns about the health of the earth, please go to the link in the website and join us for the affirmative meditation that happens on Tuesday evenings. It is led by Barbara Rolfe. And in addition, Barbara will come forth on the very next day, Wednesday, to assist us to learn a few things about the path of initiation. That's on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. I was happy to join the men's group on this past Wednesday. They will meet again on the second Wednesday of April. A Course in Miracles meets on Thursdays by way of Zoom. That Course in Miracles is facilitated by Alan Batten. So our website, of course, is unityofcharlotte.org. It's easy enough to remember, and you can teach your computer to remember it. So you just hit a button and you'll be there. So now I want you to join in affirming the success of our leadership in identifying a new meeting space. And please join me, those of you who are present, in reaffirming for our new meeting space. We affirm the presence of a new minister and spiritual home for Unity of Charlotte that fulfills every need for space and use in order to support and share our unified purpose to love, grow, and serve. And so it is. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce a friend to come forward this morning and to offer the word for the day, the message for the day. Reverend Ned Green is a true student of New Thought. When I say he's a true student, he delves into the origin of many New Thought traditions so that he might understand how this approach to life emerged. And he is quite eloquent in being able to share with us what he learns. And so in one sense, he's a teacher. And in another sense, he's a comedian. He's always got a couple of jokes up there in those messages that resonate with us. Let me put it this way, they resonate with me. So I'm always happy to be in the presence of Reverend Ned, who recently retired from a profession that, how can I say, that profession fed off of Reverend Ned's creativity. His openness and responsiveness to inspiration has served him well, has served his company well. Even though he retired, they want him back. Come on back, Reverend Ned, we need you. I told him it was going to happen. I told him there was no way they were going to find anyone as open and receptive to creative approaches to problem solving than his. And so it's a real honor and pleasure to welcome Reverend Ned Green for our message this morning. Reverend Ned. I hope that wasn't too personal.
Oh, thank you, Lawrence. Actually, they have contacted me twice. Okay. I would like to share with you the most amazing and wonderful invitation to have a mystical spiritual experience. It's in the form of a short mission statement. And it is this: nurturing a deep, mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Now, I know some of you are thinking, that sounds familiar. Isn't that the mission statement right here at Unity of Charlotte? Well, yes, it is. And I feel that it deserves a deeper look. Now, the key phrase in this invitation is experience of God. Let that sink in. I mean, how many of you this morning said to someone before you came here or joined us online, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to accept an invitation and I'm going to have an experience of God. Fine day for it. Anybody say that? Anybody online? Okay, maybe one person. Okay. Now, if you say experience of God, that can mean different things depending upon what your idea or definition of God is. And there could be some definitions I don't want to experience, but most of them I do. And I'd like to share with you a dictionary definition of God. And it is this: God is the eternal, transcendent, all-powerful, and all-knowing supreme being, understood as life, truth, mind, spirit, love, and principle. And these last 6 words were capitalized so that they indicate that they are qualities or aspects of God. So if we take this idea that God is understood as life, life itself, then that means that it is more than God gives me life. God is the essence of my life and all life. God is love. That means it's more than God loves me. It is that anyone who experiences any love experiences the presence of God to some degree. And so it is with all of these aspects of God, including the last one, principle. It's the last word in this definition, and it's also the last word in this mission statement / invitation, principle. Now, principle is a type of truth. There are basically 2 types of truth. There is factual truth. And factual truth is that which is true in a certain time, place, circumstance, and it may affect certain people, and maybe it will not affect other people. Then there is universal truth, which is what principle is. And that is that which is true all the time, everywhere, all circumstances. It is true to everyone, no matter what. Now, one thing that is helpful to understand what principle is to look at the example of scientific principle, say the principles of physics, chemistry, mathematics, and so on. That is, suppose I'm doing something and I'm using some math and I'm working out, and I get some numbers. And I don't like those numbers. I want better numbers. Okay, what can I do about it? Well, maybe could I go somewhere where the principles of mathematics don't apply and then just assign whatever numbers I want? No, I can't do that. And that is because the principles of mathematics and all principles are woven into the fabric of reality. They are qualities of God. I cannot possibly get away from any principle. Now, we have spiritual principles. Spiritual principles are the same thing as scientific principles, except it applies to spirit rather than science. Okay? Now, I have some examples of some spiritual principles. Life is an eternal energy, and all thought is creative. And every one of us is a spiritual being expressing into form according to our belief. And at the deepest part of our being, we connect with all of humanity and with God. Now, these principles being universal means that these examples and all universal spiritual principles are found to some degree in some form in all the religions and spiritual paths around the world. Now, in the mission statement, there is a mention, the practice of unity principles. Now, unity principles are a presentation, a description of spiritual principles that are clear, positive, and practical. That is, that unity principles are a user-friendly guide to universal spiritual principles. Now, the beginning of the statement, nurturing a deep, mature experience of God, the first word is nurturing. Now, nurture means to support and encourage the growth of something. That I might add, something that already exists, which is for each one of us, our connection, our relationship with God. Unity can't give that to us because we already have it. That is, that anybody who walks through the front door of unity, or for that matter, any door anywhere in the world, walks through that door with God. That we already have this relationship that when we look, however, when we look at our experiences, sometimes we may see experiences where we might say, that doesn't look like an experience of God. Doesn't feel like an experience of God, not at all. And the reason is that part of our connection with God is that that divine light of the perfection of spirit shines through us into our experience according to our beliefs. And some of our beliefs might be a little bit limited and show up as something that looks a little bit less than an experience of God. But we can do something about that. We can nurture our awareness of our spiritual nature, our connection with God, our oneness with all. And this nurturing means a shift in belief of less struggling with circumstances, and more expressing from spirit, to think more the way God thinks. That is, that God is from that infinite, transcendent perfection beyond time and space, knowing all as pure, endless joy, beauty, abundance, harmony, unconditional love everywhere, including through and as each one of us, so that we think more from that from God's point of view, everything's an experience of God. Now we can see it if our awareness is moving. That is, if we're nurturing it. It's like looking for a rabbit in the woods. That rabbits have a technique to become pretty much invisible. That is, they're in their natural environment and they just freeze. They don't move at all. And you can look right at it. Okay, where's the rabbit? Almost invisible. Now, if that rabbit decides to move and he's running, they're really easy to see. So it is with our awareness of our divine nature and our relationship with God. As we nurture, as we expand our consciousness, then we can have these experiences. Oh, it's such good come into my life. I am so blessed. God is good all the time. Now, I will add that if any one of us were to achieve what we can think of from our current point of view as a life that's absolutely perfect in every way, and we achieve that, but we stop nurturing, we will not really see an experience of God because it's not growing, it's not moving. And that's because the amount of good that we can know, that we can embody, that we can experience is infinite. That our awakening to our oneness with the wholeness of life and all is an eternal, never-ending journey. So we do this with a spiritual practice. A spiritual practice can be looked at as having two basic parts. There is a receptive part and there's an active part. Now, the receptive part is meditation in the broadest possible meaning of the word. And I'll tell you my first experience with meditation. I got into this teaching when I was a teenager, and it was through reading the writings of New Thought writer Emmett Fox. Now, I know a lot of you are familiar with his books. If you're not, I highly recommend them. They're wonderful books. And in his books, he talked about the active part of a spiritual practice in some detail, but not as much about the receptive part. And he didn't say how to do it. So I was like, well, how do you do this meditation? Well, it just so happened at that time, in between where I lived and my high school, there was a yoga ashram. Okay. So I went over there and I thought, well, maybe they'll know how to meditate. And I go in. Some of these people were from India. Okay. So I figured if they're from India, they must be real spiritual and know all kinds of stuff. Okay. So I go in there and they were quite happy to teach me how to meditate. And here's the technique that I learned: to sit in the full lotus position. That is, legs crossed with the bottoms of your feet facing up. No half lotus. Okay, your hands just the right positions, straight spine. There's a breathing technique that you can learn, and I have to do that just right. And then I was given an affirmation. It was in the Sanskrit language, and to use that silently with the breath. And then other things like that done exactly just right for a minimum of a half an hour. Okay. Now, I went into this experience with a certain attitude, and that is an openness. That is to be willing to let go of any perception or idea, just to hold it lightly, to be replaced with a greater idea. Okay, so I had an openness. And I had another attitude, is that since I'm doing my part in that full lotus position, I expect the infinite mind of God to respond, okay? You got to do your part. Okay, that is that I had a calm expectancy that there would be a reciprocal action to my openness. I was not disappointed. It was an amazing experience meditating with these people. However, later, I learned some more about meditation. And that is, there are thousands of ways of doing it from all over the world, all of these ideas. And I believe that most of them, if not all of them, were easier than that one. And my experience is that the difficulty of the meditation process has nothing to do with how effective it is. The one thing that is the attitude of being open to a greater idea and expecting a reciprocal response. That's what mattered, along with spending some time doing it, having consistency. So I would recommend, if you wish to meditate, pick something you like. It doesn't even have to be something that someone would think is meditation. Okay? Then there's the active part. And the active part is this, that here I am experiencing things, and I have an experience, and I'm like, that's not the experience of God. That's not what it looks like, and it certainly doesn't feel like it. But I can change it. That is, that I can change my beliefs to allow more of that divine light to shine through for this particular circumstance, to have a new mental equivalent. And that is that all of my beliefs, they could be conscious, they could be subconscious, they could be ideas that I share with everybody around me, and I don't even think they're beliefs just because they're so normal. But if I'm willing and able to replace this with a greater idea, then that can change that experience to look more like an experience of God. That is, that I can know that I can replace an idea. I have this ability to choose. And I'll tell you one thing that could make it a little bit easier. If you have limited ideas, instead of calling them false or wrong or bad ideas, and the new ideas the correct or true ones, I would recommend saying, I want to have ideas of some limitation, and I'm going to dissolve them into greater ideas that are more open to the wholeness of life and oneness with all. That is, that everything that I believe has some truth to it, or I wouldn't believe it. Now, it may not have much. And I could look at some ideas and say, well, this no longer serves me. Or maybe it never served me. And just upgrade rather than go into right and wrong. Just makes it a little bit easier. Now, there are a lot of techniques, as in meditation, on how to do this. But basically, it is this shift in consciousness from less and less resisting what looks like just random circumstances and hoping it turns out all right, to more and more see things more the way God sees things, see things that good comes from this one source of infinite good and expresses through me into my circumstance. That is to have a sense of self like this. I am a living stream of consciousness, expressing the qualities of spirit through my awakening beliefs into my circumstances. And every one of you is a living stream of consciousness, expressing the qualities of spirit through your awakening beliefs into your circumstances. And I invite you to say this together with me. I am a living stream of consciousness, expressing the qualities of spirit through my awakening beliefs into my circumstances. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't it feel true? Doesn't it feel empowering? And it is this shift in consciousness that allows that light to come through and is an active spiritual practice to change specific results. Now, there are a number of techniques, and this has been called by a number of things. It's been called affirmative prayer. It's been called effective prayer, spiritual healing, mental healing, spiritual mind treatment, speaking the word, and many other things. And what we call it doesn't matter. The actual steps don't matter so much. We just need to pick something and go with it. What matters is that shift in consciousness from resisting circumstances to having the qualities of spirit flow through us. That's the thing that really matters in an active spiritual practice. So when we do that, we are nurturing, we are supporting and encouraging the growth in our own mind and awareness of something that already exists, our connection with God, and that all of reality is an experience of God. And as we nurture and grow, as it moves, we can see more of it. And the Buddha said that nirvana is not going anywhere, it's waking up. Jesus said that heaven is within consciousness, that it's right here, it's at hand. Can I really dare to believe what these great teachers gave to us? Well, I can start right where I am and begin to nurture an awakening of my spiritual nature, my connection with God, and to wake up and know that everything really is an experience of God. Now, I'd like to close with a short story. One day, the president of Acme Nail Company decided that he wanted a television ad for the Acme nails. So he brought in an ad agency for a meeting. And he said, I want this ad to convey the quality and the strength of Acme nails and the Christian values that we live by here at Acme Nail Company. So the ad guy said, oh yeah, we can do that. We'll make a great ad. You'll love it. So they come back a few days later and they show him this video. And he says, oh, this is beautiful. It's great. So it starts off and it shows this scene where this large wooden cross is on the ground. And there are all these Roman soldiers around it. And some of them are holding Jesus down on the cross. And some other soldiers are nailing Jesus to the cross. And one of the soldiers faces the camera and says, "Acme nails, they'll hold anything." So the president of Acme Nails said, "You can't show anything that violent." And the ad guys, "Oh, okay, no violence, we got it. We'll go back, try again. We'll bring something. I know you'll like this." So they leave to come back a few days later. So he says, "Oh, this is great. You'll love it." So they start the video, and it shows a close-up of a Roman soldier with a look of satisfaction on his face. The camera pans out a bit, and you can see in the distance behind him, Jesus is on the cross. And he says, "Acme nails, they'll hold anything." And the president said, no, just don't show the crucifixion. And he's, okay, we'll get something, it'll be beautiful, you'll love it. So come back a few days later, and he says, "This is beautiful." And he starts it, and it is beautiful. It's this field of wildflowers, some trees in the distance, birds singing, just really beautiful. And this man runs across the field of flowers. He has long hair and a beard, and he just runs across it, followed by a group of Roman soldiers. And one of the soldiers turns and faces the camera and says, "If only we had used Acme nails." Well, he may not have gotten the ad that he wanted, but we can have the life that we want that looks more and more like an experience of God as we nurture our own awareness of our divinity and connection with the wholeness of life and all, and to know that every one of us is a living stream of consciousness expressing the qualities of spirit through our awakening beliefs into our circumstance. And so it is.
So at this time, we're going to go into our offertory. We do expect that all of you have gained in the course of your experiences with us on Sundays, whether it's by Zoom or YouTube. And we certainly do appreciate the generosity that you have been sharing with us, and because it's the way we stay on the air and the way we are able to continue to bring forth our Sunday services. So I invite you to continue to be generous in sharing with your Unity of Charlotte community. And we are going to affirm together our prosperity blessing. Please join me. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds, the love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.